What's going on? Will Freeman, revolutionarylifestyledesign.com, talking to you about the 4 types of work that you need to succeed in this economy, or in any economy for that matter. I'm saying this economy because we are heading into a recession, boys. Unfortunately, this whole coronavirus thing is the kickstart of that. You can see it in the markets. You can see it you will soon see it in housing. And the longer this drags on, the more damage it's going to do to the economy. So hopefully we get everyone back to work soon enough. Also, stay tuned. My next post will be on how to survive and thrive in this recession. But right now, we're talking about the 4 types of work you need to succeed. Number 1 is hard work. Okay, you need that in any type of economy. I'm talking about at least 6 solid hours a day to get your business off the ground. Now, most guys will tell you 10. I used to tell guys 10, but I realized most guys aren't doing 10 solid hours. They're at work for 10 hours, but it's not 10 solid hours of work. If you're doing 6 solid focused hours, that's a good amount of work. If you're doing, and it depends on your business. If you're a computer programmer, it might be hard to do 5 solid hours in a day without your brain tapping out. Versus if you're running a lawn care business where all you're just doing is mowing lawns and picking up weeds. I mean, I used to do 10 solid hours of that in high school in the summers and pass out at night. But it depends to a degree on the work that you're doing. But to get out of survival in a business, you've got to work hard. And I don't want to say this, but sometimes you've got to force it, okay? You're in like the David Hawkins, Lester Levinson. A lot of the time you fall into those lower stages of consciousness quite easily, ag flap or the force level, before you can get up into those higher levels. And I have to tell you, it's a lot easier to be in the higher levels once you're in thrival, once you actually have a business going, once you have money in the bank. It's a lot easier for me to be in thrival now than it was when I was back in Toronto, doing 100 cold calls a day forever, doing door to door in the winter, all that terrible stuff. Okay, it's a lot harder to be inspired to do that shit. You know, some days I was using force to get through it. One of the mistakes was I didn't get out fast enough. Okay, I didn't push up to thrival fast enough because I didn't have the right guidance, because I was in, the wrong businesses. I started one wrong business after the other. Okay, which brings me to point number 2, which is smart work. You need to be in the right vertical. If you are in a Subway franchise right now, you're in trouble, dude. You're in big trouble. That whole model, give up your life savings to bet it on one location-based business with relatively low margins, hoping that pays off. Get some corporate debt from the banks if that's possible, and then, hope you can make enough to pay the mortgage and be able to turn a profit and leverage that into multiple franchises. Because I think it only really starts to make sense once you're able to have 4, 5, 6 of those franchises. You're able to get debt from the banks because they see that you're succeeding. And I imagine the success rate on that is quite low. I mean, the success rate on most businesses is about 10%. But with like a low margin service business, you're not risking your life savings, and you really only fail when you quit, when you tap. So that's the kind of business that I like. Okay, you can see on my site 31 6-figure service businesses. There are plenty of 7-figure service businesses and 8-figure service businesses. Real estate, insurance, and financial services are the big ones. RSD, the pickup artist and now self-improvement guys, built an 8-figure business from dating and self-help. Andrew from Nomad Capitalist does very well with his expat tax prep service business. I have clients one client who owns a bank who's doing very well, clients who are insurance brokers, developers, personal trainers, coaches like myself. Within a service business, once you've mastered your skill and you found the right vertical for yourself, it's really only a matter of like how far you actually want to scale by like in terms of like, do you want to hire people or do you want to keep it like a semi-sole prop, small speedboat with like 2 or 3, employees and really high margins. But you need to be in the right vehicle. And I'm sure a lot of people are noticing like, hey, why did we, during this coronavirus when everyone's working remotely, it's like, why were we spending all that money on an office, right? And that's what I've been saying for the last 7 years. You want to have those business expenses as low as possible, at least in your initial years. And if you're scaling up in terms of revenue generating assets, meaning the people that you hire are people that actually make money for you. Okay. When I was in the currency brokerage business, our branch did $5 million a year. Okay. The company did about 40 million every year. Our branch did 5 million a year. All the sales guys were also responsible for the currency trades and the follow up with the client and sending out the checks. With the exception of one guy who eventually got fired, everyone else was a revenue generating asset. Okay. Minimum targets were like 200,000 a year for the young salesman. So everybody in that office generated revenue for that company. Everyone was an asset. There was not one secretary. There was not an HR. There was not anything that didn't generate a profit. Okay, 40 million a year. That company didn't even run ads. Not print, not TV, not internet. We didn't get one inbound lead. We'd get maybe one a month from somebody finding our website. It was all sales guys making 100 calls a day. And that's how that company was built. Again, service business. Okay. Another company I worked for that was quite successful was another service business. They ran, it was advertising, online ads. Similar method. Did not advertise, funny enough. Okay, it was sales guys making 100 calls a day. And the metrics weren't quite as good because we had an editorial team who were, leaking profit. There were expenses, there were liabilities. I'm not trying to like insult people that aren't revenue generating in their job. I'm just saying as a business owner, like if your employees aren't revenue generating and you're in trouble. Okay. Like if you have a lot more of those than you do of over revenue generating employees. My client who was an insurance broker had 2 revenue generating employees and 3 back office people. Okay. Sucking a lot of cash out of that business. So hard work, smart work, being in the right vehicle, choosing the right vehicle. That's the biggest one. That's why most businesses fail. I'm in Eastern Europe. I could walk down the street. There's not one business here I want. Maybe the real estate company, but I don't want it the way that they're running. Like there's no one outside selling you. There's no one, it's dead. And I'm talking about before coronavirus. The service here is all abysmal. No one's hustling. And most businesses are like flower shop, dressmaking shop, bricks and mortar businesses with tiny margins, poorly trained staff. Not one of those businesses I would want. Okay, you got to think like your ideal business is one that you can be in for the next 30 years, regardless of what happens. I'm going to be doing this lifestyle design thing for the next 30 years. Maybe you don't get 30 years out of an insurance business in one form or the other, but maybe you do. I think you'll get at least 10 to 15, especially for premium clients who want to make sure that it's going to be handled at a high level. Because as of right now, Robot can't handle complex insurance deals. So we've got hard work. We've got smart work. Number 3 is focused work. Okay? Your whole day should be ideally spent on things that make you money. Okay? Like running your ads, doing your cold calls, responding to inbound calls, setting up business systems that create revenue for your company and minimize expenses, and delegating, automating, or just not doing the shit that doesn't make you money, like as quick as possible. Like in the start of a business, yeah, you're gonna have to do some stuff that won't make you money, but you want to get through that as quick as possible, and you want to stay in those revenue generating actions as long as possible, and not try and reinvent the wheel and do a bunch of different things. Okay. If you're running a service business or whatever, it's like keep doing your cold calls, man. If that's making you money, find the most lucrative way to make money, whether it's cold calls, door to door, whatever it is, and do that, and just keep doing that, and just keep adding volume to that. The things that make me money are doing these videos, coaching clients, and releasing products. I'm going to release my course this year. I know I've been saying that forever, but it's coming, and it's going to be huge. It's going to be huge. It's going to be terrific. It's going to be the greatest course of all time. No, it's probably going to end up being like 40 hours, if not more, 50 hours, maybe 100 hours. I don't know. I'm trying to cut it down, but it's the entirety of life, and that will be the last product I ever release. I'll just continue to iterate that forever, and then I'll run ads, retargeting ads to all the guys who've been to my website, to my YouTube channel, which is the data that I'm collecting. So I'll like products, and then I'm gonna do perhaps some group coaching, perhaps not, but I'll at least have a Facebook group for guys to work together and be accountable and work their way through the course. Still going to be doing one-on-one coaching. So those are like the only profitable activities, because each one of these videos usually pays me in some way. Someone will buy a book, someone will buy a course, someone will buy coaching, or someone will get hooked on me and then watch a bunch of my other videos for 6 months or a year and then buy from me. I had one client who's been with me for 2 years from one video I did like 4 years ago called F Networking, why networking is a complete waste of time. That video has maybe 400 views, okay? But that got me a client that's been with me for 2 years. So videos, advertising, creating a product and iterating and tweaking that product, and coaching, whether it's one-on-one or group. And that's it. And that's all I'm going to be doing. Everything else is outsourced, delegated, automated, or not doing it anymore. Like, you don't see me doing articles anymore because people don't read articles anymore. I'll do them occasionally. I've promised myself that because I do think it's important, and in some ways it's higher quality. But writing a good article, a good long form article, takes forever, and 80% of content's on video now. So, that's the reality. But you want to figure out what's most profitable for you and stick to that focused work. Okay. Number 4, and this is the big one. This is why most guys fail. Okay. Or they don't level up their business to a high level, or they don't get to that next level of luxury, is courageous work. Okay. This is the biggest one. I know a lot of guys who are hardworking who can go to the gym and kill themselves in the gym because it's solely personal, and it's a test of endurance, and it's a test of strength, and they can punish themselves. But they'll tap on cold calls, man, and they'll tap real quick. Okay, everybody that starts doing cold calls or door to door tells me, like, dude, this is so terrible. This is so hard. I'm like, that's what I've been telling you guys. I mean, that's what I did for almost a decade, man, in a job, no less. Okay. But that barrier is why you'll be successful when you do it, because your competitors aren't doing it. Your personal training competitors are not cold calling people during coronavirus. Okay. But you are, because everyone's at home right now. You can call the phone book and get remote clients and coach them on WhatsApp. If you talk to enough people, you will find clients for whatever it is. Okay. Whatever you're selling. Now, granted, if you're a real estate agent, you might not be able to get clients during coronavirus because you can't show anybody houses. But you can touch base with all your old clients. You can call on new people and do video calls about, if they want to sell in the future or whatever. Or you can spend the time setting up your ads, right? But ultimately, when this whole thing is over, the more courageous work you do, right? We're talking about the work that no one else wants to do. The more successful you're going to be. And that's the number one thing that kills guys when starting a business. The number one thing by a country mile, is lacking courage. Okay? And it's not even courage, because when you start, you're going to be afraid. It's just doing it anyways. It's lacking the follow through. It's lacking the, hey, I want to make 6 figures, or I want to take home 400 grand. And then they get out there into the fields and they start doing their cold calls and they start doing their approaches in wealthy neighborhoods. And they realize, hey, I didn't want the money as much as I thought I did. I want the money, but I don't want to have to do this. This is terrible. There's got to be some other way. Maybe a drop shipping. I'll do a drop shipping business. Okay. And yeah, you can make good money doing drop shipping. I think it's more of a hustle, than an actual business, and you're looking for the next thing. And like, hey, I'm sure a lot of guys watching this for a decent amount, have succeeded, could have succeeded in something that's not a service business. But I do know this, that every industry, there's courageous work to be done that your competitors don't want to do. Just think about that for a second. Be like, what does everybody hate to do in my industry? All right, are you in B2B? They probably hate going into offices and pitching their product or their service. Probably hate calling people. Some people even just doing videos like this is scary for them, because they don't want to have their face out there and get insulted. I had a partner of mine who felt that way. He was starting to do his channel. He's just like, this isn't for me. He didn't want his face out there. How bad do you want it is the question. Okay, now don't get me wrong, that cold calling, that doesn't have to last forever. Okay, once you get into Thrival, you could start running your business fully through ads, okay, and have all inbound leads. I don't do any cold leads for this business. I haven't even run ads yet. I'll run them on my product. I want to run them on something that's scalable. I haven't even really got on the phone to close it. The sales page closes it for me. Remains to be seen if I'll do that in the future. I'd probably have to raise up the price a fair bit if I was going to spend more time on the phone, because I quite like having my schedule the way it is. But that came from a position of doing a lot of courageous work when I was younger, to be able to save money, and courageous work of starting a business, failing, starting another business, finding this one. So you've got the courageous work in your business is the outbound, but courageous work could also be the advertising. A lot of guys are scared to advertise. I had an insurance broker of mine. I don't think he advertised at all. The business was something that, and he was making 300 grand a year, and he'd been at that business for 20, 25 years. The business to him was something that gave money. It's the ATM, but money per se didn't go back into that business. Because, and it's not to blame anybody, it's because it's scary to run ads. And then what happens with a lot of guys is they hire someone to do the Facebook ads. They pay him $1,000 a month, and they test run $1,000 of ads. It doesn't work. They're like, fuck, man, ads don't work. They're not going to work most likely for a while. Okay, it's like any other discipline. Like, you're not going to be excellent at sales even if you read my book and you do my course and whatever. In your first couple months, you're going to stutter through it, because there's a mastery to it. Even if you hire an ads master, it might take a while before you find the ads that work for you or the niche that works for you, and then you being able to close on the phone. Okay, but again, what do all successful businesses do? They advertise. Okay, any successful business is going to have an outbound team and an inbound team, most likely. All right, they're gonna have done a lot of courageous work to get to that point. Now, I'm not saying that you should build an empire, okay? Because building an empire, creates a whole substratum of problems in and of itself. But I prefer the lifestyle business or the, with maybe a couple employees. But, even with an empire, like if you guys saw Grant Cardone recently, I think he was doing 10X all the way up to his 10X conference with Kevin Hart and all these guys. The next day he found out about the coronavirus. 2 days later, he fired 100 people. Out of 500 staff, he just cut 100 of them like that. And it was the right thing to do, I'm sure. I'm sure that guy, that guy is so on top of his business that he's able to make those difficult decisions very quickly. And he's able to go through the process of like anger, defiance, all this stuff. Like, how could this coronavirus happen to me? Like, I gotta let go of 100 people. And this was the guy who was saying 10X. He 10X is firing too. And there was a bunch of debate about it online. Like, no one should be surprised if you've been watching that guy for a while, that's exactly what he did. His eyes are on the prize in terms of the business survival. And, he realized he's going to have to downsize certain areas. Certain businesses aren't going to be viable or as viable in this new economy. And, he's willing to say that publicly. Most guys running like large or mid-sized businesses will not come out publicly and tell you all the people they cut. They won't even talk about it. So it takes courage to do, like, that could be courageous work. Okay. My client who was the insurance broker, I was telling him for a while to, like, okay, your revenues are $330,000 a year, but you're taking home $80K a salary and maybe $30K is left over in the business, which he leaves year over year. Your partner is taking home near the same salary as you, right? You're maybe getting 15 grand from her a year on top of after her salary and her share of overhead is spent and her share of the back office staff to handle her clients. And then you've got 3 back office staff. I'm like, dude, you basically, like, it's a make work empire. You just created jobs for these people. I'm not even sure if the back office staff are paying for themselves. Like, if there's 3 of them, they might very well be taking out more than they're bringing in. Whereas he himself was closing 220 grand a year. He probably could have managed most of those accounts himself, maybe had someone on board for 20K part-time if he was willing to cut down the service on the lower end of clients who, let's face it, when they're giving $200 to you as a premium a year, it's like they can't go anywhere and expect to be able to call the owner and be on the phone all day with him about some bullshit. Okay. So it was almost like they had 400 clients and 60% of the revenue came from the top 50. The other 350 were almost just existed to make work for the people in the office, to give jobs to the back office staff to manage those clients. Sometimes the courageous thing to do is to cut people, and now's the time. You've got to get your expenses down and you've got to get profitability up. You've got to take, step up the courage to get the profit up. And if you're bringing on people on board, you got to be careful about, hey, I'm bringing on people that are going to generate revenue, not take revenue from me, because it's just, in this economy, at least for right now, it's not smart. Now, look, this all might turn around by the end of the year. This might have been, we might have kind of a rough year, and it turns around. But you need to act as if we're going into a recession here, and got to get on top of those types of work. Okay, hard work, smart work, focused work, courageous work. Most important is the courageous work, because that's the one that no one else wants to do. That's the one your competitors aren't going to do. That's the one you're going to want to tap out on. Okay? Whatever you want to tap out on is the work that you're supposed to be doing the most. Is the most important work for your business. It sucks, but hey, look, if you do it right, you won't have to do it forever. Okay? One last thing, courageous work might be moving overseas. Might be taking your 6-figure revenue service business and moving to Thailand or the Philippines or Eastern Europe, and setting up shop there and getting your expenses down to $1,200 a month while still being able to be comfortable. That might be the most courageous thing to do for your business. So you can ride out this storm and still be able to save a lot of money and put money back into the business and advertise. Something I did back in 2014. It was a really good decision for me. It's not the right decision for everybody, but it's another way to be courageous and be able to get up there out of survival and into thrival. So I hope this message found you well. If you want help with this stuff, revolutionarylifestyledesign.com/coaching. Otherwise, let me know what you think in the comment section. Hope you boys are hanging tight in this lockdown. Hoping it's going to be over by the end of this month. And stay tuned. I've got some more game for you coming up next week on how to survive and thrive in the coming recession. And of course, the course will be out sometime this year. I promise you that. Much love.